By April 1865, the American Civil War was nearing its end. The Union Army, led by General Ulysses S. Grant, had finally cornered Confederate forces under General Robert E. Lee. On April 9, 1865, Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse, effectively ending the war. The nation was exhausted but relieved. After 4 years of bloodshed, peace seemed within reach. President Abraham Lincoln, though weary, was optimistic. His second inaugural address had spoken of malice toward none and charity for all. He wanted to rebuild the South and heal the wounds of the divided nation. However, not everyone shared Lincoln's vision. In the shadows, a man named John Wilkes Booth, a 26-year-old famous actor and Confederate sympathizer, was enraged. He saw Lincoln as a tyrant who had destroyed the South. Booth, who had once been admired for his stage performances, now plotted a dark act of revenge, one that would change American history forever. In the days following the Confederate surrender, Booth devised a plan to kidnap Lincoln and exchange him for Confederate prisoners. But when Lee surrendered, the Confederacy collapsed, and Booth's plan changed from kidnapping to assassination. He believed killing Lincoln could revive the Southern cause. Booth gathered a small group of conspirators: Lewis Powell, also known as Payne, George Atzerodt, and David Harold. Each had a role. Booth would kill Lincoln, Powell would assassinate Secretary of State William H. Seward, and Atzerodt would murder Vice President Andrew Johnson. The coordinated attacks were meant to throw the U.S. government into chaos. On the evening of April 14, 1865, Booth learned that Lincoln would attend a play titled Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., with his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, Major Henry Rathbone, and Rathbone's fiancée Clara Harris. This was the opportunity Booth had been waiting for. Around 10:15 p.m., as the audience laughed at a humorous line in the play, Booth quietly entered the presidential box. He had earlier used his fame as an actor to gain access to the theater and even prepared a wooden bar to lock the door from the inside. He stepped behind the president and fired a single bullet from a .44 caliber Derringer pistol into the back of Lincoln's head. Major Rathbone tried to stop him, but Booth slashed Rathbone's arm with a dagger and leaped from the balcony onto the stage, shouting dramatically, "Sic semper tyrannis," Latin for "thus always to tyrants." Though he broke his leg upon landing, Booth limped off stage and escaped through the back of the theater, mounting a horse that awaited him in the alley. Panic spread instantly through the theater. Mary Lincoln screamed as her husband slumped in his chair, unconscious. Several doctors in the audience rushed to his aid, including Dr. Charles Lale, who examined the president and found the fatal wound behind his left ear. Realizing Lincoln could not survive the trip back to the White House, they carried him across the street to a small boarding house owned by William Peterson. There, in a narrow bedroom, the president was laid diagonally across a bed, his tall frame too long to fit properly. Throughout the night, cabinet members, officers, and friends gathered around the dying president. Secretary of War Edwin Stanton took control of the situation, sending soldiers to hunt Booth and protect the government. Stanton stayed by Lincoln's side, recording every detail with solemn precision. Meanwhile, Booth and his accomplice Harold fled across the Potomac River into Maryland, pursued by Union cavalry. Powell attacked Secretary Seward at his home that same night, stabbing him several times, though Seward miraculously survived. Atzerodt, assigned to kill Vice President Johnson, lost his nerve and fled. As dawn broke on April 15, 1865, Lincoln's breathing grew shallow. At 7:22 a.m., he passed away peacefully. Stanton looked at the lifeless body and whispered, "Now he belongs to the ages." The news spread like wildfire. Bells tolled, cities fell silent, and millions wept. The man who had preserved the Union and ended slavery was dead, struck down just days after victory. The largest manhunt in American history began immediately. More than 10,000 soldiers, detectives, and civilians joined the search for Booth and his accomplices. Booth, with his broken leg, sought refuge in a Maryland farmhouse, then at the home of Dr. Samuel Mudd, who unknowingly treated his injury. For 12 days, Booth and Harold evaded capture, hiding in swamps and barns. But on April 26, 1865, Union soldiers surrounded them at Richard Garrett's barn in Virginia. Harold surrendered, but Booth refused. The barn was set on fire, and when Booth tried to flee, he was shot by Sergeant Boston Corbett. Booth died within hours, whispering, "Tell my mother I died for my country." Back in Washington, justice moved swiftly. Powell, Harold, Azerodt, and Mary Surratt, the boarding house owner accused of aiding the plot, were tried and executed by hanging on July 7, 1865. The nation mourned deeply. Lincoln's body was carried by train from Washington to his hometown in Springfield, Illinois, with millions lining the tracks to pay tribute. His legacy became eternal as the savior of the Union and the great emancipator. The assassination not only robbed America of its greatest leader, but also changed the course of Reconstruction. Instead of Lincoln's forgiving approach, the post-war years became harsher and more divided. Yet, through his sacrifice, Lincoln's vision of freedom and equality endured, a reminder that even in tragedy, great ideals live on. Every day, 2 videos about historical events that have happened in different countries of the world are uploaded to this channel. To know the new history of tomorrow, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you like the video or history you just heard, give it a like. Do you want to know about history? Thank you.